We are live here on Tried and True, the DC United Postgame podcast presented by Heineken. And guys, that was a dreadful soccer game. There's no way around it. There's a few. I don't know. I thought they were going to be good things going into the game that we can talk about, but certainly not the result we wanted to see there, especially with some key players back
and then out again.
Well, yeah, in the case of Russell Canals, but. We're live. Welcome to the show. John Lee, joined as always by Joshua Morgan, Sam Kastner, and Michael Black. Back from vacation. Sounds like you had a good time. Heavy wins, though.
Yeah, the beach does not compare to watching a DC United soccer game. Although in this case,
is that a good thing? Or?
Hard to say. Hard to say.
So tonight we saw the return of Russell Canals and who else was back from injury? I'm even losing it already.
Steven Birnbaum.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Briant. I'm sorry. We're all losing apparently.
Man.
Everyone's been injured.
We got a nice tight show tonight.
It's about to be a long night, yeah.
Well, I mean, Michael, you made the joke the other day that we thought that Fisher was coming back from injury, and I Googled it. I was like, I don't think he was hurt, but I mean, hell, everybody's been hurt on this team, so who knows? But wow. I looked at the schedule coming out, and this was all right, well, this is 3 points for sure. And then there's a couple other games we got a shot to earn some points. We didn't get 3 points.
We did not.
I don't know if I looked at any game on the schedule and said, we've got 3 points here. I think, we can talk a little more about the upcoming schedule coming up. There's certainly some games on there that are tough. But the way this team has played this year, I don't think I go into any game saying, yes, that is 3 points. There's certainly times that you hope for it and think, hey, things get right, we can do it. But this is not a team that shows up and expects to win on a weekly basis.
No, when it came out, I saw it on Reddit and Twitter. Like every DC United fan experienced that same thing. They were like, "Oh, those are winnable games," and then they remembered our form and just the state of the team right now. They're like, well, at least we're not like headed into like Death Valley. It could have been much worse in MLS for sure. Columbus is one to avoid right now. They're playing really well, and Seattle, LAFC, Portland. So
luckily, we don't play them though. So.
Luckily, we only have Columbus once, I believe.
Yeah,
on this the end of the schedule. But DC United came back. Obviously, as we mentioned, some players coming back, but in a 4-4-2 for the first time in a while. And coming into this, my first reaction was, well, it's a 4-4-2 flat in the lineup graphic, but you've got Moreno and Canals in there, both of whom are defensive midfielders. So Absolutely. Are we doing like the empty bucket at midfield? I mean, this isn't going to be an attacking lineup to start. And to me, with all the progress we've shown over the past couple of weeks, why?
I think you get to pat yourself on the back for that analysis. I mean, it wasn't super deep. I think most DC United fans could have brought that from this formation. But yeah, you're right. And we saw that in the first 20 minutes. Most of these games, while disappointing, DC United has come out fast and hot and pressed a little bit at the beginning of the games. We did not see that today. It was definitely, I don't even know if it was an intentional empty bucket, but there was definitely no one in the midfield who could create anything.
No.
And it felt like Kamara and Rivas at the beginning were just completely on an island. And
it'll be interesting to hear what they say during the press conference, what Ben says. And
coming up soon.
Yeah, and I don't know if we know who else is coming up, but during the pregame press conference, for those of you who saw on our Twitter, Rivas and Kamara were both really complimentary of each other, and they were really excited to start working together and getting used to working together, and they just had great things to say, and they thought that they were going to be able to create great chances between the two of them, which, I mean, directly goes against what you all have been saying and what we just witnessed. So I wonder, what the practices were like leading up to this, right? Like, if they were practicing as though they would continue that offensive push, and then for whatever reason today everyone was just told to be more defensive. I don't know.
Yeah, I think what was tough is they didn't see the ball.
Yeah, and Sam, you made the point that you want to see this team play a consistent formation and just kind of grind a style in and make that be DC United style. We saw another shift today. They've gone back to the 4-4-2, then they've changed it up a little bit. A lot of that's dependent on personnel, but you're not really getting results with trying to change game to game. So
yeah,
it's a tough thing.
Hey, and I pulled up the heat map. I think it's halfway in the first half, and I showed you guys that basically we had the ball. Bill had the ball in his box. The back line had the ball on the back line with Canals and Moreno with them. And then it was just like Assad, Kamara Rivas on this little island in half field, and that's what it looked like on the pitch. They just got the ball and they kind of like tried to do a little bit of something in the midfield, but it never really pushed Nashville.
No, and I mean, we saw on Twitter a bit during the game, folks jumping in and wondering like, when are we going to see Kevin Paredes come in? Kevin Paredes was actually not in the 21. What are we calling
18?
it nowadays?
I don't know.
Well, for
Not on the bench.
The number formerly known as the 18. Yeah, he was not available tonight.
He did not travel. Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Goff called it as a minor injury / rest.
Just a rest.
The dude's been playing a ton.
Also, I think we've seen him like grab his hamstring a
Yeah.
couple times in the more recent games, and because he's a child, he was able to just play through and keep going, and adrenaline took him. But it was probably
he got a rest last game, so I don't know. Look, definitely err on the side of caution, but
for sure,
it was interesting, and I feel like we could have used him tonight. He's been helpful in the past few games.
Well, what I said to you guys in the first half, and this was obviously before the shambolic second yellow card, which we'll talk about here shortly.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
But I thought what could have been a decent substitution and could have been part of a decent game plan would have been bringing Pippa in around maybe the 60th minute tonight, which would have been more minutes than we're used to seeing for him, but bringing him in for Russ and actually, kind of flipping that over. And it does look like we may be about ready for Ben Olsen here, so let's go ahead and flip over live to Coach Olsen at the podium.
First half of that game. And it was an unacceptable performance from us. It was uninspiring. We looked like we were still on Sun Country Airlines or whatever we flew here this morning, and it just wasn't cutting it. And all around the board, whether the soccer part was very, very poor, problem solving, connecting passes, making the right decision, all of it was off. And then with that, we're defending against a team we shouldn't be defending that much against, and again, the animosity wasn't there. It was just not good enough overall. And, again, But yes, back to your original question, I don't know. I don't like when you're on a card, whether it's right or wrong, you have to be smart and not put yourself in that situation where she can make a what was probably not the right decision, but can't put yourself in that situation.
We'll go to Jason Anderson next. Jason, go ahead.
Ben, after the red card at halftime, obviously you brought Moses into the game, despite being down a man, despite being on the road. How do you think he handled that situation for the first time as an MLS player?
I wish some of the older players played like my 15-year-old when he came in.
Got it. Thanks, Ben. I'll wait for a few more. All right, back to Steve Goff. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, along those lines, Ben, Kevin didn't make the trip. I guess he has a small knock. And Moses came on, Griffin came on. There seemed to be some energy from those young guys. What did you take away from what they were able to?
What I take away is they're young and they're excited, and that they play with a fervor that should inspire us, and that's what we need collectively. That's what everyone should be bringing to the game. We have an opportunity to play pro sports, get paid a lot of money to step on the field and play at the level that we're capable of, and that wasn't the case tonight in the first half for too many of our players. So to go back to your question, it's refreshing to see kids that are getting their first taste of pro soccer and squeezing every minute and every moment out of each touch, each play. The concentration was high, and this has not been the case this year. It has not been the case with this team this year as far as want and competitiveness and fire. It's a good group in that sense. And that's what's disappointing tonight. because we don't have the luxury in the situation that we're in the standings to have a night like this against a team that was also down on their luck with some personnel. Let's make that very clear as well. So, it's a shame that we got the red card. We end up getting in at 0-0. And without the red card, we make some moves, and I think it's a different second half. But that's easy for me to say. The red card changes things, and we still have two really good looks, probably just as good looks as they do over the course of the game, with Olas and Yamils, and we aren't able to kind of stick the knife in on those plays to get something out of the game or to go up 1-0 as well. So yeah, a very disappointing night, and the one good thing is we get a turnaround against New England to try to fix this and get back to what how we played the last month. And hopefully this is just a little blip. I think it is. We had some new guys coming in, and Fish and Russell and Steve. So the rhythm took a little bit of time to get into it. But as the half wore on, we started to wake up and kind of start solving some problems. But at that point, we put ourselves in some bad spots.
Thanks, Ben. No more questions. Appreciate your time.
Well, guys, I've been following DC United for quite some time, and of course, we've been doing these press conferences most of the season. Ben was pissed tonight. There's no sugarcoating it. That was the most upset I've seen Ben Olsen since we've started doing this show. And I'll tell you, what that tells me is that the game plan tonight was not to sit back and bunker in a 4-4-2 empty bucket like we talked about at the beginning of the show. Ben did not get what he wanted out of that team tonight, and boy, I think he let him hear it.
I have never Ben Olsen is a player's coach. We have seen him take the podium after numerous games now, and he's normally the absorber of all the blame, and he's always had the locker room. Today, he let him have it for the first time I have ever seen. We
assume he at least let us have it. We don't know what he said in the locker room.
He let the media know that he let the team have it tonight.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because in a situation like this, I would normally expect Ben to come out and say, hey, we had some opportunities in the first half. It looked all right. Then had the red card, and that really changed what we were trying to do. But no, that was not the Ben Olsen we got tonight. That was he's fiery. He's upset. The thing that stuck with me from that comment there was talking about, hey, I wish these guys played the way my 15-year-old goes out and plays.
Yeah.
That's something we've been calling for is, a lot more fire out of this team. And if Ben's not seeing it and he's telling us publicly, that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, even just tonight, Charles Boehm, Greg Roach on Twitter have been calling for Ben to play the kids. And I think, Coach alluded to it tonight of it's not just should we play the kids for the future, but in the present, Coach Olsen feels like the kids are giving the performances that he wants to see.
Yeah, I mean, that also just makes me wonder, he's been very positive to the media, but I don't know. I think that part of that has to have been this whole time, right? He's been getting a lot of criticism for saying oh, that was our game plan. We went out and played like that. Oh, we just didn't have a bunch of opportunities, but he came out on fire and he knew exactly what he wanted to say tonight. So I wonder if this has been an underlying issue of he sees not even the play or the game plan or whatever, just more heart out of his younger players than he has seen from his older players. And that's something that we've commented on. Yeah. I mean, I've given Kevin Paredes man of the match every day since he's started. Yeah. But because that's part of the reason why though, right? Is I see that heart from him, and he's the only one who I was shocked at the way he was playing, and I thought that he was proving himself every game, and you're not seeing that from the other guys right now.
My takeaways from what Ben said there is Ben had my attitude coming into this game is this was 3 points for the taking, and we didn't do it. And he was not happy about the red card, and he was not happy about Ola's performance, which should have been a goal. He was not happy about another goal that should have gone in. And he wasn't happy on top of all that Nashville was missing their designated player tonight, which we haven't even talked about yet, as a big, DC United's got players back. They're down a big piece. this was not the performance
he was
wanted.
like more mad at Russell for putting himself in that situation though. Like he disagreed with the card and he let us know, but like most of what he was angry about was the fact that Russell put himself in a situation to get that second yellow, which like is not the Ben Olsen we know, right? Like I mean, it's been a while since he's been thrown out of a game, but there was a stretch when it was like guaranteed every couple games he's getting tossed because he would let the ref have it.
And there's got to be a part of that that's like you finally get Russ back. You know, you that was, again, as we've talked about a lot on this show, was a position of depth, and injuries decimated it. You get a guy back, now he's gone tonight, he's gone on the weekend. It's not putting the team in a position to have success not only tonight but going forward.
And I want to touch on this not too long because I know we have the next press conference coming up.
And by the way, I'll expect Steven Birnbaum because we typically see the captain after a loss.
Okay, but. We speculated about how much Ben Olsen has to do with the makeup of this team, how much he gets to sit down with Casper, and how much he is aware of how much these players make. It seemed that he was very aware of that tonight and was not happy with what he was getting on the field. The past few games, and he's been right to stand by his players, they've all been due for a goal. Their expected goals and what's actually gone in, they've been a little bit unfortunate. Tonight, I guess he passed the tipping point for that. And was like demanding the players play better.
I absolutely commend that mentality too. Y'all are going to roll your eyes, but my English team is Leeds, and what Marcelo Bielsa did is he had the Leeds players work for the amount of time that it took a like minimum wage worker to pay for a ticket. He said, we're going to go pick up trash on the highway, we're going to go clean, we're going to go do whatever, and this is the amount of work it takes someone to come watch you play. So you need to recognize that like when people are paying to watch you play, you need to be giving them that product. And it like that was what I heard from Ben today was you guys are being paid to do this and you're not providing that product, so you're not making your money right now.
I heard something a little bit different. I heard these academy players that are on the senior team now are making the league minimum, which is like $60,000, and you're making literally 10 times that. For Kamara's making more than 10 times that, and I think it was a call out to those guys who have gotten the pay raise, who have been a veteran, but they're not providing that kind of experience.
I mean, it's a little bit of the same, right? Like they're just not making their money right now, and he's pissed. And like the fact that he even brought that into the conversation, I think, says that there have been other things going on in the background.
I
probably.
hope there's.
I mean, Ben was pissed about that they flew Sun Country Airlines. I mean, like
there's no biscuits on the
you
flight.
didn't get nothing, man. Whatever we flew in on this morning, he said.
Yeah, but no one deserves it on the ride home.
That's right.
And to his credit, he certainly called out a couple of folks, Kamara in particular, but it was not a hey, I'm going to get on this guy and try to get a performance out of him. And that was a very raw Ben Olsen coming out and telling us, hey, nothing on this team is going the way we want it to. We're not where we want to be. We're not seeing the kind of effort we want to see. We're not executing what we expect to execute. And it showed.
I want this Ben Olsen in charge of roster changes. I don't know. I feel like the mood he was in just now would ship half the team. And maybe that's what we need right now. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, to me, it raises a fair question of, I mean, obviously, within this fan base, Ben Olsen gets a ton of criticism, and we could talk for hours about how much of it's warranted and how much of it isn't, but I think if that's the Ben Olsen that the public sees more often, I would argue it's going to be a definitely different perception of the guy.
I agree. I also think something going back, Don, to what you had said is like, yeah, we've incorporated these guys in defensive midfield, like was our position of most depth, so like, taking aside like all the like results that we've had recently and all the injuries and everything like that, like our entire season minus COVID and everything like that, like a normal season of with this team would have been a very defensive season because that's where we have the depth. So the fact that that's what we put on today, that's where our like quote unquote strong players and our starters are coming back into the lineup, right? Like we'll talk about how the past several games we've had like this offensive flair and we were creating opportunities and we got goals in the run of play in the first half and it was phenomenal, but we just need these key pieces back. But these key pieces are defensive pieces. So what does that mean for the team?
I think it was huge. I think Ben Olsen played his preferred back four today.
Even the midfield was the defensive midfield.
Yeah. I mean, back six. Yeah, you can extend to that. Mora, Briant, Birnbaum, O'Neal on the right wing now, or on the right back position now, and then Mora and Canales. That is DC United's starting back six, and they shipped a goal to Nashville and didn't look good at all.
Well, and yes, they did, but to be fair, they shipped a goal to Nashville down a man, and it was a situation where I mean Mora was definitely outmatched on the coverage.
Should have had a man on the back post.
and for sure, right, which probably would have changed some of the other tactics on the play, but you could also argue that there was a foul potentially happening. But I mean, at the end of the day, with this Nashville team, you got to score too. Like in that first half, to not have a goal. That's what's frustrating. I do obviously the text line and YouTube is blown up a little bit here. Obviously, Ben putting on a bit of a show to start off our program, and like we said, we're still waiting to hear hopefully from Stephen Birnbaum here any minute. But
yeah, I want to acknowledge to everyone. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
we are
please.
seeing your comments and everything like that. We always try to fluid and not get into anything too much because we know the press conference is coming. But we do see your comments. We do love them, and we will get to them. So bear with us.
Look, Steve might have some stuff to deal with in the locker room.
Yeah,
tonight.
That's very true. Yeah.
Well, it might be an extended delay, but one of the things I'm seeing coming through on Twitter right now, I just want to reiterate. I mean, I don't think that the game plan was to sit back and defend.
Not at all.
And you know, for DC United fans who didn't listen to the post game tonight or you know just expected the usual, I totally understand where you're coming from. And then there was a part in that first half where I was like, oh my God, we went into an expansion team away and we got players back and we said, yeah, let's just defend for our lives and hopefully get a draw. That was actually kind of where I thought we were heading, sitting down to do this show. But after hearing what Ben had to say there and the way he said it, I don't think that was the game plan tonight. And I just want to reiterate how jarring that was for us having watched these press conferences all season.
And I think in a vacuum, if you looked at this game and said, hey, you went on the road, you got a red card the first half, you gave up a goal, lost 1-0. Yeah, it stinks, no matter the quality of the opponent. It's unfortunate. But I do think that a lot of this is kind of the buildup of what you've seen. And I think we're getting ready to switch over to the press conference.
Yep, let's head to Stephen Birnbaum live.
Not happy after the game in his comments, just about particularly just the effort in the first half. What was your take on things?
Yeah, I thought the first half was a pathetic performance. I mean, we couldn't do basic things like just pass and move and tackle. And, obviously we dug ourselves a hole and the red card and go in the second half. And, I thought the guys, responded better in that way. But the first half was unacceptable. It was really poor from us. And, we need to really look each other in the eye and nip this in the bud because we can't play the rest of the season that way.
Thanks, Steve. We'll go to Jimena next. Jimena, go ahead.
Steve, what do you do to regroup from this game?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is we have a home game on Sunday against New England. And, it's a quick turnaround, so we don't have much time to really dwell on this. But, we just need to be better everywhere. I think that's really it. It was just a performance that hopefully this kind of kicks us in the butt and gets us going because we just can't play like that. I mean, that was something else.
We'll go to Jason Anderson next. Jason, go ahead.
Steve, I know it's tough to evaluate after a loss like this, but this being your first game back after 5 games out, how do you feel you did? How do you feel physically?
Yeah, I feel all right. Obviously, I'd like a shutout and a win. So disappointed about that, but I feel all right. I feel okay.
Great. Thanks, Steve. I'll pause for a few seconds, see if there's any more questions. I see one more from Jimena. Jimena, go ahead.
Steve, do you think you could have done something different to prevent the goal?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky play. They get a first touch on it, and we're pretty well marked. So I don't know.
Thanks, Steve. I don't see any more questions, man. So appreciate the time.
Well, he's usually pretty cool, and obviously tonight, I think he could tell just a little bit that things didn't go quite right after the game in the locker room, and the message was clear from Steven there that they got to nip this in the bud moving forward and try to get things back on track.
Yeah, we've joked around between us that Steve Birnbaum's definitely the most polished interview on the DC squad, and
he's black and red through and
he
through.
Definitely showed some emotion there, even in the pauses. That that was not good.
It's going to be a long flight home on Sun Country Airlines. Was my takeaway from the media availability tonight.
or whatever,
No,
All right.
I agree. I mean, as as a captain, as a head coach, like we have heard that. Or, do we have to go? Or?
No.
Okay, no. As a captain, as a head coach, like
We do sign language over here, Sam. We're just talking about you. It's fine.
yeah, I know. That's why I'm questioning it.
Oh, this is getting edited out. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I just think it was a lot that those two humans on DC United showed emotion tonight, and those are not two people that we usually hear that from, right? Who was it, like Yamil a couple weeks ago, who was very angry about the defensive shape we were in. Like that didn't surprise me a whole lot to hear from him, but to hear Ben and to hear Steven show the emotion that they did tonight, like that really says something to me.
I'm happy. I love
it.
I want to see
it's
emotion.
changed my mood for sure.
If DC United, if they just kept coming out with this like, oh, it didn't happen for tonight, or we're mad about this one little thing that happened in the game, I would be dismayed. But if there's actually a real fire in their bellies right now because of this loss, I'm psyched for it. Hopefully some actual change comes from it.
And they're all like, the whole half was bad, right? They're not like, oh, it's just that one play that really got us and the rest of it didn't quite go away. They're
that's
like,
the normal.
The entire game was unacceptable is the message we're receiving right
and
now.
if you're a guy like Steve coming back from injury, like you have worked through that, you've watched this team play over the last couple of weeks, you've said, hey, I want to get back out there, I want to contribute to my team. I'm not putting this on Steve at all, but you heard the frustration on him tonight saying, hey, I'm back out there and our team is not showing up to play. We're not ready to go, and that's extremely frustrating to see it. You saw the frustration from Ben, you saw the frustration from Steve, and I do feel a bit better knowing that the team is upset about it, because if we had gotten another press conference where they talk about, well, we gritted it out, we tried to play our game, et cetera, et cetera. I'm happy to know that they're frustrated. I would also like that to translate into better play.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we have to talk about here, and we glossed over a little bit at the beginning, and we'll get to your questions here in just a second, and we've got to figure out what we're doing on Sunday.
I think I disagree, so they might not want to wait for that.
But let's just finish recapping the game. Obviously, just before halftime, live we saw what I at least thought, and I think most of us did, was 2 yellow cards on the same play, which ultimately ended up in a
we thought we saw a Nashville foul on Russell Canals.
Well, no. We did see a Nashville foul on Russell Canals. The call on the field was not that, but Russell Canals, and we actually, I reached out, we got confirmation from the team at halftime that Russell was indeed issued a yellow card earlier, which I believe was on the free kick that was set up.
37th minute.
Yeah,
we got
screens. That took forever.
There was no graphic, but we have a screenshot here on Twitter. We might retweet it from the show account so you can see.
Make it happen.
She's like barely got it out of her pocket, and I guess that was the yellow card. Oh, I mean,
and then the camera probably
that's just a broadcast thing.
Yeah.
So we missed that, but then I'm still stuck because I'm convinced Canals was fouled, not
so I
fouled.
Understand you all don't think this, like on ESPN it said a bad foul, which I had a hard time seeing, right? I saw more the dissent coming, which would have been an understandable yellow. That's not what it was quoted at. I'd be interested to see like later on what that was.
So for me, as he's falling, he's reaching out, trying to grab. If he is going down straight up and after the foul, or just loses balance and goes down, I think he's fine. But I think the fact that he tried to keep pushing it, tried to reach out and still stay involved as he's lost control of his body, I don't have as big a problem with the yellow as y'all do.
That's a yellow for you though? Like maybe that's a foul.
Maybe a foul.
For that to be a yellow.
I mean,
that's
even
a little bit of a
even
stretch.
live, I saw it as he was fouled and then he fell down and his head basically tripped the Nashville player. Which, okay, foul, but for a second yellow. I mean, I guess I would maybe feel better if the yellow was actually more for the dissent after the foul.
Which
still won't be happy.
What it looked like. Even like the time frame of when it happened, she didn't whip out the yellow right away, right? He was like talking to her, right? Like there were many people around her, and he had been talking to her for like a few seconds, like maybe 10-15 seconds, and then she pulled it out. So like even to me, and I don't know, this is just speculation, but like to me even that makes more sense that it was for dissent.
And I also, on top of all that, totally agree. Benny was pretty hot about that too. I mean, he was hot about everything tonight. But he even went as far as like putting us in that situation. It wasn't a dangerous play.
Yeah.
Right? To me, putting him in the situation was chirping at the ref.
Yeah.
And getting a second yellow.
You're right. I completely agree.
So if it is a yellow card for dissent, then that's absolutely unacceptable. There's no reason that a
There's
player
no reason.
who has already received a yellow should be barking at the ref no matter what the call is.
In your first game back, too. Like,
maybe Ben's upset with the early foul there, the early yellow. As a D-mid, you can't get an early yellow like that.
It was pretty silly when it happened, too. I think we all thought that as
Well,
well.
but it would be the second time that's happened. It is the second time that's happened this year. You look at MLS's back. I mean, Junior did the same thing and got himself a pass from the second game. I mean,
at least juniors were for actual, going in hard on tackles.
Yes.
In this case,
I think he earned 3 in that game, if I remember correctly.
either way,
4, I think.
Ben does have a point that you're on a yellow. You shouldn't be reaching out and grabbing as you're falling. Like, you do have to pull it back a little bit, and that
shouldn't be chirping at the ref after that happens. Like, let your teammates handle that. You just walk away because there's no reason. You're not gaining anything out of that situation. No ref is going to be like, oh, wait, you're right, I'm going to call it the other way, right? Like, I know that in the moment you're feeling all your feelings. You just got to say something, but you have to be smarter and walk away, especially when you're already on a yellow.
And a team that's as shorthanded as we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were so excited to see Russ back in the lineup and back out there.
To me, if that was truly dissent, I would actually put it on the entire team there, especially the midfield crew of like, you've got to be calming and pulling a Russell away in that situation. But I look forward to hearing hopefully more details on what that yellow was, whether it was the foul in play or whatnot. But just wrapping up the game here before we move to your questions, we do got to talk about the goal. 70th minute, Daniel Rios. Joshua, you said it live. I completely agree. It was coming. Bill made a spectacular save 2 to 3 minutes beforehand. If that,
it might have been
the
goal kick that they played.
Yeah, and I mean this was a tough situation. I actually thought that DC United might have had a shot for a foul on the goal, but it's also possible that Joseph Moore is just way smaller than most people, and so
I think he just wasn't going for it. Also,
yeah,
he wasn't jumping up.
I side with the
either.
goal scorer on.
I mean,
on this.
if Mora falls down, he might be able to buy a call there. We've certainly seen that happen, but it's not by any means a guarantee. And you need to, instead of trying to find a way to fall down, you need to be getting in the way and actually marking your man instead of letting him, go around you and put the ball back.
Man, I could see it on Bermont's tip when he was like, the goal we had, everyone man marked pretty tight except for Mora, who got like Jordan.
He got worked.
Also, I'll say every time though, you got to have a man on the back post and the front post. I don't understand why any team doesn't have a man on the front and back post, because goals like that don't go in.
Anyways,
they just don't.
I don't know if it's that simple.
If it's that simple, put a body there, it doesn't go in.
To not acknowledge that today a female head refereed a game, and she did just as well as most pro referees. So in her first game, so we should probably be expecting great things from her now.
Yeah, Tori Penso, and it was funny. I mean, at the beginning, I think we all recognized her obviously from being an AR, previously. And
in Orlando, yeah, it was when she was first in AR.
I tell you what, man. Unfortunately, she's deep in the pro system because it ain't pretty, friends.
Look, pretty. Ted Uncle is like that on his 2000th game.
Yeah, the only credit I'll give her is she took control of the game early, which is not a hallmark of the pro refereeing playbook.
And to be fair, the referee did not decide the outcome of the game. It certainly changed.
I don't know. She took Russell off the field.
It certainly changed.
I don't think that decided the.
It certainly changed it. But this is a team that got 4 shots, 1 shot on goal.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
She took a defensive player off the field. Like, I get what you're saying, and it obviously changed the game, but I mean, that wasn't what Ben and Steven said. They said our first half was horrible, and Russell got thrown out at the end of that first half. So I don't know that her tossing Russell out changed the trajectory of the game. I think we weren't playing the way we wanted to the whole time.
I disagree. I think Russell marks the striker better on that play than Mora does.
That's not his man.
Who's Russell's man?
He's somewhere in the middle, but Mora, as that side's
I don't
defender,
think
is
after
definitely
that
the
display,
one.
I don't think Mora should be marking anyone but
I'm
the
just
short
saying,
corner.
like, lining up, like, that's definitely Mora's man. In no situation, if Russell's on the field, is he marking the back post runner.
That's some of the worst defending I've seen out of Joseph Moore on a corner. I was surprised, but. We're live here on Tried and True, the DC United Postgame podcast presented by Heineken, and we know you guys have thoughts. We've seen them come in through the text line, through the YouTube, but if you want to join the show, you can always text or call at 202-892-6000. 202-6328. That's 202-892-60CU. Or, of course, jump in the YouTube chat or on Twitter using the hashtag TriedandTrueDCU. We do have a text here, and this came in right at the beginning of the show from our friend Donald. This might have been the most frustrating match of the bunch. I thought Bill Hamid played terrific, but our set-piece defense fails us once again. This was a very winnable game, and we couldn't get anything done on offense. I fear this is a match that will be a downer for the morale of the team because we should have left Nissan Stadium with 3 points. And I will say this text did come in before Coach Olsen delivered his
I think that makes the world of difference. Donald, if you're still listening or watching, text us and let us know what you think about the press conference and the reaction from Ben and even Steven, who were very I think this does the opposite from morale now. The way they approach this, I think it could galvanize the squad and make them so much better.
I feel like it could really go either way because I think that the locker room right now is in shambles. Like, everyone's yelling at each other right now, I would think. Like, Ben is not happy. Steven's not happy. I don't think that anyone is walking away feeling really great about this. So I think this is an opportunity for the team to either turn around or it's an opportunity for the team to sink even lower. We'll see what happens.
No, I think you've got a great point there. I think it could very well be concerning that we never see Ben or Steve come out and talk about, hey, be that upset. If this is the point we've gotten to and this is, one of the last cards they have to play to see if they can get a reaction out of the guys, that could be very disturbing. And maybe it works, maybe they turn it around moving forward, but it's not what we're used to seeing out of the guys. Maybe they're feeling the pressure. You're coming into this back half of the season. Right now, you are tied for last in the league. I think on goal differential, you might actually be straight up last. That's not where you want to be, especially in a year. It's a tough year. You've got injuries. You've got all sorts of challenges in front of you. But of all the teams in MLS, you are in the very last place.
But only by a few points, right? It's not like we're in last place like we were in 2013 by like 87 points. Like, isn't it pretty close at the bottom of the table?
The way this team is playing, though, if you had played a full season, do you doubt that we would be in a similar basement?
No, but I'm saying maybe this is the turning point, right? Everyone's pissed off. Everyone's shouting at each other in the locker room. It's going to be a testy.
It's a kid-friendly show.
Everyone's shouting at each other in the locker room?
No, I'm just joking.
Okay, so...
Nothing about this show's been kid-friendly for weeks.
All right.
And I will say, shouting to... Dang, wrong West Coast team. I was going to say Vancouver just went down 5-0 to LAFC, so it could be worse.
I think San Jose is down by a bunch right now, too.
Yeah, it's true, and that's what Greg Olson's saying, is at least our goal differential is still better than San Jose.
Yeah. I just think that this could be a turning point. There are plenty of games left. We're close enough that potentially we can turn it around.
Shocking -21 goal differential. But look,
for who?
San Jose.
No.
Yes, but they also have to play these good teams. Seattle put 7 on them the other night. We play Cincy and Nashville.
You can't be giving up touchdowns.
Who haven't scored 7 in their career.
I don't know. We might have to add up our goals on the season.
All right.
Let's go to the YouTube. So... Richard is saying, DC United does not seem to be able to move the ball with many speed, to many back passes and hold up the ball. I agree. I think we were all really frustrated with how they came out to start the game, even when they had 11 men. I mean, a couple times I reacted quite vocally while we were watching the game that to get touches, Ola Kamara was coming back to, the 4th or 5th deepest man to get a touch, and that's not a recipe for success. And again, I fully expected this conversation tonight to have been much more of what is Olsen thinking for tactics in these types of situations, but I'm now convinced that just wasn't the game plan.
I still think we can still ask that question. Look, normally in the midfield you have a 6, an 8, and a 10, and 6 does the defensive midfielder. We normally play more than what you're supposed to there. We play Canals and Moreno side by side, and they're both 6s. Then you have an 8 who moves the ball up and down the pitch, and then you have a 10 who creates things. And we didn't have an 8 or a 10 today. But my question is, who plays the 10 or 8 for this team right now?
Flores
is out. Areola has done it as a pinch 10.
Well, it does sound like Flores is closer to returning than we thought. but it sounds like he
That
might
means-
be coming back
I don't
and
know
then
about
going
that.
out to Peruvian duty.
I don't know
So
about that.
Isn't Jordi Reyna on this team? I don't know.
I think he
And
just
I
had
d-
his first practice the other day, though. So
Yeah, I
you can't
expect him to be
expect
available
jump
this
right
weekend.
in. I think, yeah, that's what Ben
He's
said
a
during the pregame.
winger
for this one.
striker, though. I don't think
So
he
do you
solves-
move Gressel in more?
Gressel was
Because he
awful at the
wants
10.
to.
I don't think
No.
Gressel should be played. I'm
Gressel-
wearing-
no.
Gressel's not a 10.
wearing the jersey right now. I don't think he's anything more than he could be the best right back in this league.
He wants to play in the middle, though. He said that in a press conference.
Expectation management needs to happen with this team everywhere, and I think there. Look, we saw a couple times where
that's the shout. And I said it a couple weeks ago after we saw it.
we saw Paredes
Paredes
at
at the 10. No, we did. We saw it. And I
Can
think
you say
he's
the full comment for all of us not looking at it?
Paredes at 10.
That's it. I think we saw it. I wasn't impressed. I don't think he's a creative
It was
force.
better than not having one like we had tonight,
Yeah.
though, right? I mean,
Yes.
we put an able body in it.
Man, I don't want to call on a third DP signing, but I think that's
Follow-up
what
question: why not?
because this team has literally never done it, and then we get into
Oh.
this whole organization thing.
Gonzalo was available until like a week ago.
Oh man,
Listen, if it's going to be Kevin, I would love for it to be Kevin. I don't care what his
Kevin's
age
a
is.
left winger. What are you talking about?
I mean,
we saw him
he's
push in the
whoever
middle,
is
though.
available. He's
He's
a
young
which
enough to be trained.
which position is empty tonight, and can we slot him into?
No,
Welcome to MLS.
to that point, Kevin has been great on the left wing. This is not a U12, U14 team where you play your best player in the middle because he's going to get the most touches. I'm not saying that Kevin is the best player. by any
Or the
means.
U.S. men's national team with Pulisic.
True.
We need the air horn sound effect on this board stat.
Or we just need to mute Joshua, maybe.
In an ideal setting, you get guys in the positions that they are the best at, and you let them grow there, and then you find out ways to fit the other spots. I don't want to force Kevin into being a 10. I think he might have the talent to do it. I think you could see him there at times, but
He's got the flair.
But if you're going to say that
He does have the flair.
our answer at,
So why are you mad about it?
at our attacking player is, or our attacking midfield is going to be Kevin, I don't see it yet.
Well, so here's perhaps a more important question though, and this is not to directly refute you saying like maybe he doesn't go there, but what is Kevin Paredes' best position? Because we've been impressed with everywhere we've seen him.
It's not left out of the 23.
It is,
But that's my point, though. Like, why not watch him in the 10? You guys were both
My
very
counterpoint is
down
that-
about that.
Is that
I'm in.
tens on successful or decent MLS teams are the $10 million transfers in?
Okay, that's not happening this season. I think it's unrealistic to expect
You're
that. So
right.
why not throw the kid in there, right?
You're
We're
right.
already
You're
last
right,
in the
but then
league, apparently.
The expectation will be he'll be compared to the Zella Ryans
I don't
and
care.
the Diego
I don't
Valeris.
care. Let him develop.
Yeah,
Let him
that-
learn what it's like to play in the middle and to have a team around him and to try to shoulder that
But when
team.
he doesn't
That'd be phenomenal for his
produce,
development.
when he doesn't produce,
Who else is producing in that
that's
spot
harmful,
right now?
That's harmful for his development.
It's not.
I'm with Sam on this one, Joshua. I mean, listen. First of all, DC United's not getting a ton of attention in the media to begin with, so these comparisons aren't going to catch much traction. But second of all, give the guy a shot.
People are aware of the Yao Moses
Paredes,
and Paredes movement in DC. MLS is aware of it. They mention it in a blip every article. They're not producing goals and wins right now, so they're not blasting it out trying to get them a transfer, but they are aware. I think eyes will be on Paredes if he takes the 10 spot. I don't know.
I don't think
I like the left wing spot for him because it's lower expectations. All he has to do is retain possession because
I
that's
think
barely what Moore does. And
Moore
be
is not on
positive.
the left wing, though. I mean, Moore is usually left back. But
Also, if you put Kevin in the 10, the expectation is not that this team is going to then win the MLS Cup, right? The expectation is that he's going to be a young kid who has creativity and flair in the middle, and he's going to figure it out and see what happens.
I think
because
it's worse.
he's bringing more to the team than the older guys are, as heard by Ben Olsen
as
today.
Coach Olsen said,
So
but
why not?
I would say I'm with you on plugging him in at left mid. I'm totally comfortable with that because that means Yamil Assad is not on the field or in the stadium. But
Are we back to
still
John
didn't solve
Stockhouse?
the number 10.
I think if
Yeah,
you
you
try
know
to
still,
pl-
you
look,
got the
if-
permanent reservation.
If you try to plug him into the spot that Areola and Lucho and Flores tried to hold, and he doesn't succeed,
Who
that
is
shots
succeeding
his
right
confidence.
now, though?
He needs
how many games did he have in that position, though?
who? Flores,
Kevin.
Lucho.
Like
He's the only
half.
one available
But-
right now.
Well, so Joshua, I get where you're coming from. Right? He's young. He's playing well. If you
I don't
put him
think
in a
he's
position to not succeed, but what I would say to him is, look around at this team. at everyone else who's failed to succeed.
Maybe that was Ben's
position
message
this
in the
year.
press conference tonight, and I agree with you.
Right? I mean, if he comes up short, he is just as good as the rest of the team because no one has succeeded
and that's
at that
exactly
position
where I
this year.
am. I don't think that he's our long-term solution in this. I think, yes, absolutely go try to sign a third DP eventually. I don't think that's happening this season. So maybe look
Or
for next
ever.
season. And just in the meantime, like while we're waiting for players to get back, throw Kevin in there and see what he can do because he's been super creative. He's been getting a lot of attention and he's not any worse than what we've been doing so far.
No, if you're going to give him minutes and you're going to say, hey, this is your opportunity to develop. These are low pressure minutes. Play him where you want to play him and get him the experience playing there. Don't just say, hey, we'll see if this works. Throw stuff at the wall.
I
will
want
not harm his
Ben Olsen
development.
has been, and I want him to continue to be very intentional with his implementation of the youth squad because we've had them before. Hamid and Nahar aside, we've had Jared Jeffries, we've had a lot of young players who have,
Robinson,
that have come up and we've not
And Ben
done
hasn't
them.
given them the opportunities.
Or when he did, they were in the best position. Robinson came in at center back a lot, which is, what was Robinson's position? Was he right back or center back? We never really found out. So I don't want us to do that. Paredes.
We never found out
Is
that he was
he-
benched forever. He didn't show in those positions, and he wasn't given the opportunity to
So
grow into
what
them.
happens when Paredes doesn't show in the 10?
You slide him back out when Flores is healthy. I'm not saying, again,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this is a long-term solution. I'm saying, what do you put in there right now? Because now we're down another midfielder because Russell can't play on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I would start Moses alongside Junior.
I want to get to Moses. Moses was good in the midfield today. He didn't look like he was out of sorts, and he's a year younger than Paredes, 2 years younger than Yao, and he's probably the best prospect on this DC United team, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and I think what's frustrating to me with a lineup like tonight, it's kind of hitting me a little bit right now, right? Is for games we were clamoring for put a striker out there, right? When Kamara was hurt, and we had two out there tonight, we couldn't even feed him the ball, and my first reaction tonight was, well, maybe we need to go back to the 4-2-3-1 or something,
No.
but all of that is a product of failing to get the ball forward to said strikers. So I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see more Moses. I hope Moses starts at the weekend. I don't know how else you do it at this point.
Yeah, we're so stripped back there.
And on that point, we're live here on Tried and True, the DC United Postgame podcast presented by Heineken. We've got a number of questions to go through here, but if you want to join the show live, we'd love to hear from you. 202-892-6328. That's 202-892-6328. But a question we've been sitting on here for a minute in the YouTube, and Joshua reacted quite viscerally to when it came through, is from Richard. Is our defensive midfield really our strength? And I'll own it. I think I made that point earlier. Moreno, Canals, Felipe, none have looked that good this year, in Richard's opinion.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah, I would disagree too.
Look, I think it's easy to dog this team. This midfield is, like I just broke down, it's not a normal midfield with the 6-8-10. It's been empty bucket at times. It's been 2D mids and then a center attacking mid. It's Felipe leads the team in assists right now. Canals has been injured for the most part, but he is a fringe national teamer. Moreno is a national teamer. He's drifting towards fringe because he's been less.
I thought you said French for a second there.
Fringe.
So did I, yeah.
Fringe.
Fringe on
Some
the
exchange.
outskirts.
He is not
Almost
a
coming
French
in.
national team.
No, he is a Venezuelan.
Fringe, I got it.
But he normally starts for them. I think they have been. Moreno had a couple crazy games, but I think they've been one of the strong spot on this team. I don't know if that's exactly what you meant, John, but I'll go along with that.
Well,
yeah, I think they have. Go ahead, Michael.
And this is a last place team. Like, you're looking for strengths. It's a comparative game. Like, it's certainly not striker.
Yeah. No.
You look at the team and say, hey, maybe it's outside. Playing the wings. Gressel, guys like Assad, Areola when he's healthy. Like, that could be a
Ask John
strength.
about Assad.
Yeah, stop. That could be a strength. Like, you go into the year thinking, hey, you got some depth there, but no. You're not getting assists out of them. You're not creating chances there. When you really break it down, aside from goalkeeper, which we've already talked about having good depth there, defense has been giving up goals to expansion teams. By process of elimination, it's a strength, but certainly not by much. Like, there's nothing on this team that says, yes, that is your calling card. At least you have strong defensive midfielders. So, I guess to that extent, I'll say, yes, you're right, Richard. That's not a thing to hang your hat on, but that defensive mid is not our problem that we need to address.
Well, and what's interesting, and Sam, I want to throw to you in just one second, but it's rare when we have hardcore stats to back up our opinions on this show. But our friend MJ at Ande Kade on Twitter just said apparently our defense it's not completely terrible. Statistically, we're a pretty average defensive team. It's not terrible, and if you look at it here, I mean, we're literally dead center on the graph that he just sent in as far as expected goals and goals we've given up. And I think that checks out. I mean, I'm not out here saying, and again, center defensive mid being my strength on this team when everyone's healthy is very different from me saying we have a top defense in this league, right? But I think the problem really is, this defense can do a job. It's the offense that we've been looking for all season.
I got stats to back you up.
Back.
0 shots, 0 key passes, and
Wait.
nothing of significance from
we had shots today.
No, from the two midfielders.
Okay.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Is like it's a very different thing to say that we have a very strong defensive midfield depth chart, and to say that they're the ones who are going to win us the games,
absolutely,
or prevent us from losing the games.
Yeah.
Neither of those things are true, right? Like Felipe, before he got hurt, was playing really well for this team, I think. Like you said, Russell has been injured, so we haven't seen a lot of him, but previously he's been pretty solid. Moreno has been kind of up and down, but like he's also like of recent been pretty solid. But they're not the ones who are the center backs, right? Or the goalie or like the outside backs who are stopping that key pass in or that key shot that leads to their goal. They're also not the ones assisting, right? Or the ones who are making that shot that scores the goal. So it's very... Saying that we have a very strong defensive midfield is very different from saying we're a very good team, or that we should be winning all these games, or we should at least be like tying these games 0-0. So yes, I agree that we have a very strong defensive midfield. Do I wish that were our strongest position? No. Right? Do I think that we need to build everywhere else? Yes. But I don't think that the team is not like being built upon that, but it's not taking anything away from anyone else to say that that's our strongest position.
I agree. It is not an elite squad by any means. There's a reason that Felipe has bounced around from team to team. It is not your calling card. If this defensive midfielder is the best thing you can say about this team, you're probably not going to be in a good spot in the standings.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we aren't. But I completely agree. I think that if you're trying to address issues on this team, defensive midfielder is not the pressing end all be all that's causing you problems.
We'll take a second to shout out our friends at Across the Pond who are hanging in there strong with the return of the NFL season, but also for the return of the Premier League and all of the English, all the European soccer for that matter. But if you check them out, whether that's in person or ordering online, you can use the promo code podcast for 5% off your order. Dude, they got some really good food. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little hungry at the moment, and I could go for one of those Popeyes.
They have really great gluten-free food as well. Anyone who's listening who's gluten-free, I am as well, and I can eat aplenty there.
For sure. And with that, I think we can do this really quickly tonight because I feel like we might all be on the same page. But we got to award a man of the match. I'm looking at you, Sam. You're the one who's going to throw us off.
Don't look at me first.
All right, fine.
I have my thoughts. I want to hear
This
Reynolds.
is the second time you've given her a pass. I'll go. It's Bilal Hamid.
Tonight Joshua learned that that's Bill's first.
I feel like I've read it before, but I forget. He left the team for a while and twice. But
Joshua's throwing every single piece of shade this episode.
Look, he made a couple key saves tonight. The rest of the team definitely wasn't man of the match. And you can hear him in defense. I said to you guys at one point, I wish Bill could coach the team through the attack as well, because then maybe they'd score a goal. But he organized that defense the best he could. It's a shame that Mora got dunked on. I don't think that Bill could have done anything about that, but he had some great saves. He's my man in the match.
Do you guys remember that season? Well, I mean, of course you remember the season when Wayne Rooney showed up in like June or so.
But 2 years ago.
But going into that season, it was like the running joke. Everybody's like, "Yo, Ben, who's going to be the captain?" And he's like, "I don't know. I might wear the armband. Can I give Ben Olsen man of the match for his post-game press conference? I don't know if I'm allowed to do that.
He could be man of the post-match.
Well, yeah, we'll have to check with the. No, it was Bill Hamid for sure. I don't know. I hope one of you guys has a runner-up because I don't. Sam.
Yeah, I was going to say Bill, too. I think he came up with some really key saves. I think Bill has always been really great in his reactionary saves, and we definitely saw that in full today. And I mean, I missed also just hearing him in the back line, right? The entire time we were just like, oh, yep, there's Bill.
Yeah,
like,
the audio track is
nothing to
is
take
solid.
away from Chris Seitz, but he just didn't provide the literal, like, verbatim what he was thinking. We could hear it loud and clear through the broadcast. So I definitely missed that. And I think Bill deserves it tonight.
Yeah, for me, the team gave it to Bill. I don't have a problem with giving it to Bill. I think he made 2 very good saves, reaction based, and the goal that went in. We talked a little bit about him, seeing it go by him. But the thing with Bill is that when goals get scored on him, they're goals that he can't stop. If he has a chance at getting there, he's almost always going to get there. And we are so lucky to have a talent like that between the sticks, holding down the defense. The game could have been much worse without Bill back there. If I have to look for a runner-up or an honorable mention, again, it's tough for a bleak performance like this. I did like some of what I saw at Gressel. You saw some balls in. You saw a couple of opportunities that he took up front. Same with Assad. I know John's gonna get on me for the Assad, but he.
What mic are you on? I'm going to be.
Just don't mute mine.
Hey, you're right.
But Assad had perhaps I think it was the one shot on goal today where he took on players, went forward.
He took it. Yeah.
He could have pushed it out to the sides. Perhaps made a better choice at the end. But if that's the only shot you have on goal, and it was because Assad said, "Hey, I need to put the team on my back and move forward and have a shot," I'm fine with that. Again,
it's a shocking indictment on the entire team if Yamil has to go coast to
those are
coast,
both
which was
solid
impressive.
This is not a deep field to choose from by any means.
Yeah, I also want to shout Fred Briant, who, I need to see more from Nyman, Gregory. That's a solid shout. He looked good in the minutes that he had, but he didn't really change his game.
He would have given it to Nyman.
Yeah,
except for runner-up.
For runner-up.
Okay.
But I have Briant, who has...
We'll call it the Sam Kastner runner-up award.
Briant has made a goal line save in like each of our last 4 games. So if you just take the results of those games and add 1 to the opponent,
I would like to put just a slight honorable mention. It was great to see Steven Birnbaum back in the lineup, and it's been a long time.
Don't get no.
Okay, continue then.
I agree. It was great to see him out there. He was not the man of the match.
What I was going to say was that I missed that moment at the end of the game when we were like, whatever, let's just throw Birnbaum up top and see if he can get a header in, which is where I was going with that.
I don't miss that. I would love to not see that.
Yeah, I was going to say, ideally we would never see that. But you're right. That is something we haven't seen in a while, thank God. But it's always fun, and it's more fun when we actually have like a headed attempt by him, which we couldn't pull together.
When was the last time that worked?
He was leading goal scorer on DC United like a while back, but it
20,
worked a
2013?
lot. He's like frequently.
It has definitely worked. Like, there's a reason that we sent him forward. He's obviously capable of winning headers and stuff, but it's been a while since I've seen. I mean, again, part of that situation, like you don't expect it to be a high percentage situation that you're sending your center back forward and hoping he scores a goal.
Listen, I
But
wasn't
it's been a
saying
while.
that's ever my ideal game
I think you just
plan.
came up in the wrong segment for that. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun there. I thought you were trying to give it to him for showing up.
No, all I was saying is that that's never the game plan, but like the DC United of old and me, like, or when it's our last ditch effort, like it's always just amusing to me because I played defense as a child. It's amusing to me to see a center back running around up top trying to figure out how to score.
Fun fact, John, Steve Birnbaum was not on that 2013, but he is the result of us being so bad. We drafted him with the pick that we got from being so terrible that year.
Nice, good stat. Yeah. I feel like because of our slandering of Sam, I didn't get to take it out on Yamil as much as I would have liked to have. But what I was going to say was it was a great run by Yamil there, and it's frustrating to see an entire team, have to rely on one guy to go coast to coast. But come on, man. Pass the ball. You had 2 people open at the end. You ain't got to take it all on your own.
That's also true.
Still in the doghouse. All right, let's move on here. Obviously, the phone line is still open, but we got to talk a little bit about the schedule for the final games of the season here. You didn't have to switch the graphic back. It was all good. But, no, now we're back to the press conference.
Yeah.
There we go. The phone line's still open, 202-892-6328. If you're not getting your thoughts through in the YouTube chat, give us a call. But the schedule is out for the last 9 games. Going into tonight, I looked at this and thought there were some pretty winnable games on here. For the first time in their MLS history, I think I'd like to see Atlanta twice on the schedule. That's promising. The Red Bulls again, Chicago. You don't love to see Philly. We owe Cincy 1.
Philly, who tied Cincy tonight.
That's true.
This is also the Philly that ran it up on us.
You're right. I didn't get that. Was also a bad game by us. Like, maybe we'll turn it around. But I'm just saying they didn't have a great result tonight. I didn't watch the game, but perhaps all is not lost.
Columbus is the team you didn't want to see, but they're only on there one time. Orlando's not on there at all, who we could have seen a couple times based on how the season's going.
And
we
how
got
weird
New
is
England
that Orlando is a team that you look at and say, no.
Glad we avoided.
Jarring.
Yeah.
Second in the East right now. It's the upside down.
And of course Montreal. It is the upside down, and it's. I don't know, guys. I mean, again, this show is not how I expected it to go based on how Benny reacted there, but. They've got New England at the weekend again. They got to get 3 against New England at some point, right?
We got to get 3
New England's that good
at some point.
But again, I mean, we've said
New
this
England
on the show
had a pretty good game today. Like they won pretty handily
they
against
dismantled Montreal. Yeah.
So I think this team can.
Montreal, who look, Thierry Henry is not a good coach. It turns out.
I think we're all learning. Yeah.
Yeah. They learned at AS Monaco last season when they almost got relegated after being one of the best teams.
Had their hopes, but
no, I hope we get something out of our former coach's team, Bruce Arena.
Well, and it's weird trying to look at the schedule and figure out how it's going to project out. You look at games like Philly and Columbus, and you say you're going to need a very good day for things to go well the way the season's going. Most of the rest of the games, you could pull something out. You might hope for something. But we're also in a weird situation. Again, being at the bottom of the table, looking up, you're only 3 points or so out of being in a playoff spot. How many points do you need to get out of the schedule to move forward? And we have no idea how to project that out because of how weird the situation is. You could do it. I don't know if anyone's really excited for the idea of being a 10 seed and the playoffs and saying, oh, well, at least we made them. But
listen, I'll say every time you don't have to be good in MLS until the ending stretch of the season. Seattle has proved that many times. So maybe this is the turning point, right? Everyone's pissed off. Everyone's yelling at each other.
But Seattle has shown us that they can get good. This team, not yet.
Give them the opportunity, though. Like, we're not at the end of the season. We have seen up until now, like the past several games, we saw some offensive chances. We saw a lot of improvement. Maybe this is just a little bit of a slump that's going to kick this team into gear, right? I mean, hindsight will be 20/20 either way, but
so we'll see. I think that leads into my final question tactically tonight is to all of you, obviously. What do you do against New England this weekend? I mean, we've seen them a couple times. We know the hand we've now been dealt with. Russell not available. Obviously, some other injuries are stacking up. What do you do?
We're not getting anyone back out of the group that's injured now, right? Like
possibly Paredes, who's like injured / having a break.
I'm gonna expect that he's available.
Yeah,
but I don't know that.
Look, and we talked about
possibly Reyna, like he might be in.
The main problem tonight was creativity in the midfield, and I don't think we have a solution just because our midfield's destroyed with damages right now. I don't know. Like, I want to fault the 4-4-2 tonight. I don't love to see an empty bucket.
Okay, so we can't play that in the next game, right? Because Russell's out.
And I think one of the kids, Nyman or someone, is going to have to
Nyman.
Is going to have to do that.
He's not really. None of the kids are really a 6, though, right? So it's automatically like a different outlook anyway.
I mean, the kids can be put into positions just like you were pitching for Paredes. I think they're going to...
right, but I think they have more creativity and more drive to push the ball forward, and I think we literally heard that from Ben today.
To answer John's question, I don't know what happens next for DC United. They're too injured to try new things at this point, I think. I think you just hold on and try to do the best
Well, you got to give me a formation or something. I mean,
That's
you're
what
coming
I'm
out
getting
of the
at.
4-4-2
It's
again,
at least
or
what is
are
the
we-
change with Russell?
With Russell's got to be Nyman. He's the only other
Okay,
midfielder on
so
the
you're going
roster.
1-for-1. You're going 4-4-2 again.
What else can you do? There's no one on the bench really. Paredes.
Well, I mean, there's a full bench. It's just a matter of I'm getting
Is
more
there?
tactically. What do you want to do? Because this is the first time we've seen the 4-4-2 in quite a while, and I wasn't thrilled.
I don't
Michael?
know what I want to see out of this team. I'd have to sit down and break down where people could play. What I expect to see is a very similar 4-4-2. You probably slot in Nyman straight up for Knaus and see what happens from there. I don't think you're going to see folks like Yao starting. You might see Paredes come back in, but aside from that, I wouldn't expect Ben to tinker too much with this. The 4-4-2 is what Ben knows. It's what he likes. He has tried a couple other things, but at the end of the day, he's going to come back to the 4-4-2. So that's what I expect to see.
So, I mean, there's a big part of me that really wants to see 3 or 5 in the back, however you play it.
I think
I'd like to bring in the 3
That's
big center
exactly
backs.
where I was thinking.
I'd go Gressel and Paredes on the wing
guys-
if you have to.
And then they can pinch in if
I've
they
been
need
watching
to, and they
so much
can-
of Nuno so far. I think a 5-3-2 is the only solution for this team to try to do anything at once. Wolves run it a lot. Is you put 3 center backs who know what they're doing in the back, and 2 wing backs who go up and down the pitch.
So just work with me. Who you putting in a wing back?
It's Paredes
And Gressel?
and Gressel.
Okay, so
Mora doesn't do the job as a wing back.
Oh, I agree, but what I struggled with is then who's your 3?
Moreno is in there. Nyman is in there, and then
Okay.
I guess Pipa's
Griff?
not going to start.
It's got to be Griff.
Yeah, it's got to be a sub because we just don't have numbers. But that's the format. The numbers thing or the people thing. I don't think we're going to solve. We're
And
just
then
running
up
low
top,
on
are you doing Rivas and
Rivas and Kamara is our
Kamara,
only
and you
option.
bring in? Okay. I mean, I'm obviously good with that, but I think, Michael, you make a good point that, I mean, that's probably not what we're going to see. Sam, where's your head?
I mean, my head was right where yours was with I'd like to see like the 5/3 in the back. I don't know what the pregame graphic looks like for that.
Flip a coin.
Exactly. But yeah, I would like to see, the 3 center backs and then the wings who are able to completely like just push the ball forward. And then we've got 3 in the middle-ish then and then 2 in the front. I think that has a lot of potential for this team. I think so many of our ideal players are injured right now. This season is crazy and not the way we expected it to go anyway. But I also think that will give us both the offensive and the defensive options that this team needs, right? You are able to bunker down in the moments when you need to and you don't have possession, but you also have the opportunity when you do have possession to build the ball and rush it forward.
Yeah. And frankly, I don't think that the problems with this team are centered solely on formation. You can make some tweaks there, but as some of our commenters on YouTube are saying, this team is not moving the ball fast enough. They're not moving forward with any kind of confidence. It's really got to be a stylistic change to say, hey, we're going to go in search of opportunities. We're going to try to go forward and try to create what we can do. Obviously, that did change a little bit in the second half, given the situation you're in, being a man down. But I don't think that 4-4-2 or 5-3-2, that's not going to be a cure-all for the problems that are facing this team.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting this weekend, and it's going to be interesting moving forward because we've seen some pockets of success over the past couple of weeks, and as we bring, it's one thing to say you've got players who are out for the season, and you got to make do with the group you have, and you have the same group week over week. They get better playing with each other, and they get better playing in consistent roles. But that's another challenge this team has, is as players come available, like we saw tonight, force tactics changes, which overall makes the team look, to me, less good than they have the past couple of weeks. But shifting around the league, obviously we had announcements today from both the Black Players for Change and for Major League Soccer to get people to the polls. Very nonpartisan announcements, but Sam, we talked a little bit on the last show just about the league in general, trying to clear up election day as time for players and staff to get to the polls.
Yeah, and yesterday was actually National Voter Registration Day, I want to say, and I think a little bit either earlier than this week or last week. I'm sorry, it's just the fact that it's COVID and time has no meaning. But it was Black Voter Registration Day or something like that. I'm sorry, it's very late in the night, and these things were, in the past. But yeah, I just think it's important to vote, and I think everyone is agreeing that it's important to vote. I think that's not the only thing that is going to change our society. I think you still need to educate yourself on who you're voting for, and hold then your elected officials accountable for. Sure. And volunteer in the community if you can, or just talk to the people around you about if they can volunteer, or donate to places if you don't have the time to. There are just so many things that you can do, and voting is the very least. If you have been privileged to have always had a vote in this country, then use it. And if you have needed an amendment in the Constitution to vote in this country, then use it even more, right? Feel privileged that you now have that vote and know that you haven't always. And I just think it's important. I think it's also notable that here in the district, everyone keeps saying call your senators, and we don't have senators. So I think just do what you can and be as knowledgeable as you can, and just understand that the onus is on you to make change if you want change. And I appreciate that the team is kind of partnering with Black Players for Change, and they're really putting it out there. And again, it's very nonpartisan. So if you don't want change, vote for not change. If you want change, vote for that. But they're really just saying that everyone needs to get out there and make their voices heard.
Yeah, and along the activism lines, another shout to Kick Childhood Cancer, right? Using the hashtag Kick Childhood Cancer. Sam wearing the same jersey for weeks, which is another problem we'll address after the show. But if you use that hashtag, one of the various sponsors for Major League Soccer, I believe it's Continental Tire, is donating a large chunk of change. And so please take a moment to do that while you're, as Josh would say, smashing the like button, following, subscribing, telling your friend about our show. You could even, in part of your childhood cancer tweet, you could also reference our show. We would be cool with that as well, because the money goes regardless of who you tag in the post, as I understand it, right? Yeah. So why not? You can't hurt.
Oh, we are definitely not saying any money from it.
Okay, we will see no money. That's just a general statement about the show. We never see any money. But before we look ahead to Loudoun and the Spirit, which none of that stuff is, well, actually it has for Loudoun, and we'll get to that in 1 second. But just a couple of quick lineup updates from the YouTube chat I want to address. We had a proposal this weekend for a 5-1-3-1. Which I had to do the math, and that is 10, so that's the correct number. It's not a formation I see a ton.
We need 11 though.
Well, and of course a keeper, right? But
I'm teasing.
But Gregory Olson saying that would be Assad, Reina making his black and red debut, and Yao in the midfield there, which would be interesting. I can't say I hate it.
No, I was about to say I don't hate it. Have we seen a Griffin Yao start in MLS?
I don't believe
we haven't seen Reina for DC United yet.
I think we're overlaying Olsen plausibility with what is the idea.
Look, it sounds and looks good on paper. We'll see if it.
Yeah, and we have another one here, a 4-5-1. You've got Pippa and Assad playing in the 2 forward midfield roles. Gressel right, Paredes left, Segura in the middle, striker of Olas, Sorga, or Yao, and that's MJK777. Guys, I guess one of my questions, and I'm going to try to get a couple into Benny this week if I can break free on the midweek press conference, or I guess the mid-weekend press conference, depending on when I don't think we actually have a minute count for Pippa, but I'm telling you it's not 90.
I was about to say, is it legal for Pippa to start for DC United? Maybe that was part of the agreement with Columbus or something, and it's gone.
I think
maybe he'll only start against Columbus when we get there.
Or against Miami.
Well, they're not on the schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Florida teams are not on the schedule.
Postgame. Or postseason, I mean.
What?
Postseason for that one.
You talking about?
Yeah.
Playoffs?
A DC United Miami game in the playoffs tells you the playoffs is too big.
It's the 17 seed versus the...
What I was getting back to is someone who's taking days off and mostly has afternoon meetings and can make most of these pregame press conferences, is that what I believe I have heard is that Higuain has about 30. Is that about we shouldn't expect to see him before the 60-minute mark, whether that's right or wrong, tactics or physicality, whatever you have, but that I believe that is the most of what I've heard.
Yeah, that sounds right too. I guess my question is, why? I mean, it's been a long time. Is that we don't believe that the team is built to have a guy like that playing for that long, or I don't understand. Like, in theory, if he's recovering from an injury, right, that count should be increasing. And I agree, Sam. I feel like I've heard 30 minutes since he joined the team.
But do you think he was
in March?
Do you think he was brought onto the team to be a starter on the team?
For his salary.
No.
No.
So what are you saying right now?
What I'm saying is he shouldn't have a minute restriction.
Right.
Still.
No, but it's not normal to like see a sub at half, right? Usually that's like an injury or that's like a dire situation.
We've done it in
like,
the past 2 games. So.
Okay, notwithstanding, right? Today we had a red card, so that's a dire situation. Like that's outside the norm.
So like half in the last game.
Okay. You're right. So there are exceptions to the rule, but what I'm saying is that normally you would see your normal subs around the 60th minute, and I think that that's why we're seeing this 30-minute restriction. It's not that he can't go for like 40 or 45 or like even 55, but it's that he's not going to start for our team for whatever reason. I'm not saying that's right. I've seen a lot of calls on Twitter that potentially that is the way to like kick this team into high gear and like have a really good start, and then maybe if he can't go the full 90, you sub him off. Fine, maybe that's the situation, but I'm saying that like Ben has said that he's not a starter for this team, so it's not surprising to me that we're not hearing that we're going to see him until the 60th minute.
I think my problem with that is that instead of starting him, we're just not playing someone in that position.
Yeah,
you're right. That's totally fair.
Yeah, I think Sam's spot on from what I've heard from Ben too. Like that's what he's pretty committed to. I guess my pushback on that would be, you got 5 subs this time around for the rest of the season. So
I keep forgetting that.
You could start him and plan to take him out in the 60th minute, right? So if he's good for 60, right, you could do that too. It's not a lost sub when you've got 4 other ones potentially. I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of tired of hearing like, oh, we've only got 20 or 30 minutes out of Pippa. Like, I'm pretty sure my man's fit enough to go longer than that. So what's the real reason is what I'm interested in.
To play the converse on that, we've been talking about wanting to see what this team can do, wanting to see new guys and new positions, trying to play younger folks and really try to iron out something that we can build on moving forward. Pippa is not going to be a major player on this team in 2 years. He might not even be a major player on this team next year. So if
I don't want him hearing you say that though.
No, and I love the attitude from him, and would love to have him be successful as long as he's here. But the reality of it is this is not a piece that we're building our team around. So if you're Ben and you're trying to say, hey, this is what we're trying to build here, Pippa can do a amazing job in practice of showing guys how to be a professional and how you conduct yourself, and when you get in your minutes you take advantage of those. But I don't necessarily need to see Pippa coming in and playing the first 60 and then going out after he's been gassed and running on fumes for those last 10 minutes or so. I mean, the team is in a much better position than we are to say what their fitness is like. But again, if Pippa is your cure-all for this year and moving forward, you say, hey, as long as we play Pippa, we're fine, then you're in a world of hurt.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's just that something has got to be close to a cure-all for this year, or else we're not going to make the playoffs, or if we do, it's going to be an ugly go. And I guess that's my only point with Pippa. Is
we just lost 1-0 to an expansion team, and we are in the middle of an ugly go.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I guess I got to use this transition. Speaking of ugly goes, Loudoun's game this weekend has been postponed due to COVID positives. I really hate to say it.
Where's that air horn at?
Look, this is not good. This is something that we've feared since the return of all of the leagues. The USL has been doing as best they can, but obviously they're not having as much success as Major League Soccer. But their game away to Charleston this weekend has been postponed due to some COVID positives. No details, obviously, protecting the innocent there, but hopefully folks are able to get healthy really quickly. Hopefully the spread is limited and Loudoun can be back going again. And just speaking of Loudoun, we talk about some of the youth movement here, and one of the things that Olsen was criticized throughout his career for was not playing the youth as much, and Loudoun was supposed to be a tool for that. Obviously, this year, a very different story with you're not seeing players move between the leagues, just in my opinion, and I think in a lot of folks' opinions, because of coronavirus fears of let's keep them within the same system. But obviously, these guys, the three we talk about, the most, Griff, Kevin, and Moses, they're getting some minutes here with DC United, and they were on MLS contracts. So I don't know how much sending those folks down we would have seen this year unless, everyone stayed healthy. But that's tough for Loudon, and hopefully things can get squared away here shortly. Sticking in the district, obviously the Spirit, no change to their game. They're Chicago away on Saturday at 1 p.m. And as we've mentioned, DC United plays Sunday, because apparently we're playing on Sundays now, against New England at 7 p.m. And it was a big win tonight for New England against Montreal. So I think we owe the Revs one here. It's been a little while.
Love to see it. I would love to see it.
Yeah. Guys, what did we miss? What did we screw up?
Probably a lot, but I don't think much to say now. I think we hit everything. We'll just see how this team bounces back. We've said many times in the show, but I appreciate how Ben and Steven came into this press conference. I a little bit appreciate that we only heard from Ben and Steven, right? I'm assuming we didn't just skip the third person, but
no, it's been the trend after losses. We only hear from the captain.
I mean, that's right, though, right? Like, you should only hear from your coach. You should only hear from your captain, and both of them said that today was unacceptable. So I'm hoping that, strong words are said and things change and we bounce back into this game on Sunday.
Yeah, and to echo that, you saw a goal happen in the second half, a goal that we all thought was coming from Nashville. In a vacuum, you look at this game and say, hey, you lost 1-0 being down a man on the road. It's tough, but you can deal with it. But on the whole, looking at the way the season has gone, the failure to score goals, go forward, and actually have success doing it, it raises a lot of questions. And we've talked about some of the potential ways forward, things we'd like to see, but we're going to have to see more out of this team if they're going to make a push for an expanded playoffs this year.
Play the kids, score the goals. Don't get dumb second yellow cards. What is happening? Joshua, are you going to tell folks to smash the like button, or do I have to?
I will never tell folks to do that. Do what you want.
I played the song to end the show. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. This has been Tried and True, the DC United Postgame Podcast, presented by Heineken. We'll talk to you guys after NFL Week 3 and a DC United game coming up this Sunday against the Revs. Talk to you soon.